Good afternoon, YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Bugsy Benjamin back at it again. Another video. It's been like 2 weeks since I last put out a video. Last video was the importance of communication and how communication and being able to express our ideas to different people, communicating knowledge, wisdom, and how that is essentially the lifeblood of human progress and how we build our societies. Today's gonna be less, heavy. Kind of just want to talk about just learning. Put some questions out there, some rhetorical questions, some questions that might take some time to kind of really sit and come to a conclusion with, or find answers to. But yeah, it's been a couple weeks since I've seen. How have you guys been? My couple, I think I'm only still at 14, 15 followers. I feel like this YouTube channel is a gem, bro. I got hours in content for, a small group of people who rock with me. They, haven't lost subscribers. I'm actually gaining subscribers slowly but surely. I'm not pushing this content. I'm not pushing people to subscribe. I don't even want you guys to like it. I don't care whether you guys comment or not. And like I said in previous videos, these videos are more so for myself, and kind of watching back my own ideas and knowledge, and as they come from within in live form and in real time. Like I said, I don't write scripts or read anything or plan really what I'm gonna say beforehand. I've got like general ideas and general principles in terms of, I want to touch on finance. I might want to touch on health and wellness and exercise, or I might want to touch on fringe topics like relationship dynamics or children. So some things, like there's a lot of things when I get like 10, 15 minutes in to these videos, like there's things that I wanted to touch on or talk about that when I replay back and I rewatch myself or rewatch these videos, like frick, I forgot to, I didn't think of that, I forgot to talk about that. But there's always something you didn't cover. There's always a context that someone could try to box you into. There's always something you could have said or said differently. So you're never gonna be perfect. I don't strive to be perfect. I don't, strive to fix my fuck ups. We're human beings. We make mistakes. We learn from those mistakes, and we continue to make more mistakes. And I feel like that's just an ongoing, continuous process. And on top of it, since I kind of want to make this video more so learning about, or I guess learning, because these videos are really just us learning and thinking about concepts on the fly, off the top of our dome. There's no script. You can't fall back on, I was supposed to talk about that talking point, or I got these bullet points, I got these things I need to speak on. These videos are there for those who like to think, those who like to replay and rewatch videos and get to understand and pick in the little nuances of each video, and even the way that I think and my speech patterns and my thoughts and how they connect and transition to the next topic of conversation. Even those of you that rewatch these videos and notice these small, minute details, these nuances about communication, about my own personality and how you might perceive me, and vice versa. These ways of thinking, these ways of analyzing other people's behaviors and characters, you can apply that to yourself, and kind of, again, like I always say, sitting with yourself and taking an inventory and account of who you are as a person and your own personality traits and habits and the like. But what else should I tell you guys about? I mean, it's been 2-3 weeks. I had my son with me for the last week and a bit. He had his March break, so he was here in Toronto for a bit. So that kind of occupied pretty much most, not all of my time. Again, if I'm not at the office working, then I'm at home, spending time with my son, working out, maybe playing Flight Simulator, cooking, reading, exercising, studying. So outside of 8 hours sleeping, 8 hours, 9 hours at work, the other couple hours playing and spending time with my son, there's really not much more time out in the day. You only got 24 hours in a day that I got to really do, much else in terms of, going out or socializing and going out to bars, drinks, clubs, nightclubs, different venues and event. Like, I'm not really into that. Like, I did all that in my 20s and late 20s and not so much in my early 30s. I pretty much spent all of my 30s working, to be quite honest with you. I'm about to be 35 in a short 3 weeks and a bit. And I don't think there's been, like, outside of maybe a 1-2 vacation or a 1-2 trip to Atlanta or, I don't know, New York. I haven't really traveled. I haven't really taken time off, like extended time off from work outside of maybe a week or two. So my 30s have really just been me grinding, working, building my wealth, investing, learning, building my knowledge base, building my experience. So it's flown by. Like, I'm already 35. So I'm already halfway through my 30s. And I'm still thinking about and wondering where my 20s went. Like, I still feel like I'm 22 physically and maybe sometimes mentally and emotionally. But, it's another topic. But yeah, other than that, my son's good. He's good. My baby mom's doing good. My mom's doing well. Family's doing good. Cousins, uncles, aunts. So, I think right now I'm in a place of stability when I consider finances. Although that's not. Are we all really where we want to be financially? I think not. Like, we always want to strive. We're always striving to something. Even you may be a millionaire or a multi-millionaire, or you may be worth a couple $1,000s. There's always a goal that you're striving to attain, and I'm no different. I fall in that trap too. Still trying to clean up past financial mistakes from my 20s, and avoiding those mistakes in my 30s. So far, I've been lucky and gracious to not repeat some of those same mistakes in my 30s, and recovering from my 20s, and I'm trying to build a solid platform and foundation so that my late 30s and then my 40s and 50s and so on become prosperous, stress-free as much as it can be, as much as life can be stressless. But I want it to be prosperous. I want to have my health, my faculties. I want to truly, live the way I would have if I were maybe in my 20s, but with the accumulated knowledge of my 30s and 40s and 50s. So that's kind of how what I'm kind of thinking about here, what I've been thinking about over the past few days. On that topic of children and, my son, and, I see families and mothers and fathers walking their children to school, and really more so, I guess women, the men are probably at work. Stay-at-home moms is probably what I see. I live in a suburban neighborhood. I've lived in urban environments before in Toronto and in Montreal. I've traveled all over the United States, so I'm not, I'm not unfamiliar to urban and hood environments, I guess you would say. Otherwise, I don't like that word hood. I just call everything a neighborhood. Everything's a neighborhood. But, the hood, they dropped the neighborhood. Like, you guys are still neighbors, so why not? Why are you dropping the neighborhood? Does that sound too friendly to call it a neighborhood? You just drop the neighborhood and you just call it it's my hood. I don't got no neighbors. I just live in a hood. It sounds ridiculous. But, yeah, I've lived in suburban and urban and in different environments. I haven't lived in rural or countryside. Yeah, I don't think I ever will. But yeah, just seeing people out in this environment, in a cul-de-sac suburban environment, it's very interesting seeing the dynamics that play between families especially husbands, wives, their children. It's especially intriguing seeing dynamics between wives and husbands like later in their marriage, like 20, 30, 40 years in. There was one couple that was in our office the other day, and I think they were doing a quote with one of my colleagues. No, they weren't in our office. Where the fuck were we? Shit, where was I? No, I wasn't at the. I can't fucking remember. I was in some type of office, and this husband and wife had walked in, and they were at the desk or the kiosk, and was it insurance, bro? I can't remember. Well, they were at the kiosk, and oh no, fuck, that's what it was. Enterprise. So I usually rent cars to drive to Montreal or to take road trips. So I was at Enterprise, just waiting for my car, waiting for the lady to introduce me to my car and do the setup and the drive off. And then the couple had walked in, walked up to the desk, and from the time that the couple was walking in, the wife was just chirping the husband. She was like, "I think we should do this. Why don't you ask?" The husband walks in. The man's like, "Can you please shut up?" And there's probably 4 other Enterprise customers in the office in the Enterprise place. He walks in and he's like, "Can you please shut up?" And she's just chirping, and she's like, "Oh." And I had my headphones in at the time, and I looked up and I heard he spoke pretty loud, like he was in the middle of like 5, 6 different people, and it was just funny, like just he told her to shut up, and then like later in the conversation, as he was at the desk talking to the Enterprise agent, I guess, returning his vehicle, and then he told the lady, "Yo, get back in the car. Get your ass back in the car. You've done enough." So, seeing how we as people change as we gain experience, as we gain knowledge, as we gain wisdom. They've probably been married for 20, 30, 40, maybe not 40 years, 20 years, 20, 30 years. And it got me thinking, like, what was their relationship dynamics 10, 15 years ago, earlier on in their relationship? Like, it just seems now they both are tired with each other, frustrated. They have angst and animosity. I think like you could sense the animosity between them, but they're still, married. They're still ecclesiastically married. They're still married under the, church, under the veils of God. But when they go home, who knows what the hell their household look like? When you go home, I want to be a fly on the wall in their house, at their kitchen table. I want to see what kind of, like, these things gets me thinking. It gets me very curious in terms of, the projection or the perception people put out there of themselves for what they want people to think of them or how they want to be perceived. When in reality, when they go home, when they're with themselves, with their family, with their spouse, they're a completely different person. Or they're, how we see their relationship, as from the public or even from a family or friend's point of view, could be completely different in the confines of their house, in the confines of their 4 walls. So, very interesting things that I like to think about, relationship dynamics. And then, on that topic, in terms of raising children, raising human beings in the society, raising productive human beings in the society, how do we expect to progress as a society, to progress as a Western culture, as a people, when we're so dysfunctional, when we don't come together from a place of service? We as people, men and women, when we come together to form a household, to form families, and to grow our communities, to grow our country, to grow our population, we don't do so from a point of service of what I can provide and give and build for and with one another. We look to what we can get from that person. What can I extract from this person and in this relationship? What can I get? And in return, how little can I provide in return to get back as much as I think I deserve, from said person? And to top that off, we live in a divorce happy society where I think not only the laws but culture, people, men, women. I keep getting back to these relationship dynamics I don't like to talk about because it gets to be a sticky and hot topic for some people, especially gender dynamics. But when we incentivize removing men and fathers from having relationships with their children, or severing that connection, or even having it, going from being a full-time parent to a half-time parent, that's 50% less opportunity that you have with your with your son, with your children, if you find yourself in that situation. So not only do we incentivize breaking up families, breaking up relationships, having dysfunctional homes, like, don't we think our children are observing these patterns, not just within their household, but their friends in their classes, and then their friends, and in society as a whole? Like, don't you think these children are observing these things? And especially into adolescence, we as grown folk, we can't even get our shit straight. But how do we expect generations before us, or sorry, generations after us, to do right, to be better than we are? And how do you expect us, I'm in generation Y, how do you expect our generation to be better than generation X or boomers? Hold on, we are back. Moms, I'll talk to you after. I'm recording YouTube live. I'll talk to you after recording YouTube live. Oh, thank you. Told you guys sometimes people could knock on my door. Yeah, but how do we expect to progress as a society when we as men and women are dysfunctional? Both, emotionally, relationship-wise, financially. I could go on. And I'm not perfect either. I'm just calling out the ills. Like, I just as guilty as anybody else walking out in the street. But I think what makes me different is that I call this shit out. I like to call this shit out, and I like to have these tough conversations. But I actively try to find ways to better myself. I try to look within myself honestly, like truly honestly, and figure out where I fucked up and where improvements could be made. Like, honest, true improvements can be embedded in my life in terms of health, my eating, my diet, how I spend and manage my money, in terms of how I interact and manage my relationships, personal, family, friends, colleagues, professional relationships. Knowing how much of myself to divulge, knowing how much of myself to be vulnerable with, but knowing when to protect my peace, my sovereignty, my agency. So there's always a line you gotta thread in terms of when to be open and vulnerable enough, but knowing not to overshare and to divulge trade secrets. Well, I think that at some point or another, we all have our own trade secrets, things that we think we do better than others. We have strategies, methods, ways of doing or viewing the world that might be more advantageous than others. So obviously, those things you want to keep near and dear to yourself, or near and dear to your family, or within your household, because that's your competitive advantage. You want to keep your competitive advantages. If you make your competitive advantages learning points for someone else, then they aren't competitive advantages. So, knowing what to share, what to give back in terms of knowledge, and know what to keep for yourself as your own competitive advantage. And I'm still learning that as myself, not oversharing, not to, overexpose shit that doesn't really need to be overexposed. Like, I'm comfortable being exposed. I can talk about or talk on really anything and everything. Near and dear and not near and dear, bad, good, evil, whatever have you. Like, I like especially tough, difficult conversations that people would typically shy away from. Those are conversations I typically would run towards. And I think that's probably why I do so well in insurance, minus life insurance. Still my life insurance, prospecting and appointment setting, and my communication and in getting people to see the benefits and the true life-changing aspects of life insurance is still something that I'm still working on. It's still new to me, and it's been like not even a year. Fuck, I just picked my nose on camera. Hasn't even been a year. 10, 11 months. No, not even 11 months. 10 months since I've now been not practicing life insurance, but been exposed to it in my agency. I'm not life licensed yet, but I think I know the ins and outs of life insurance and how it works and different products, the different features and benefits really of life insurance. Like, I wish someone taught me and told me about life insurance when I was younger. Someone probably tried to sell me on the fact, and I probably wasn't listening. But as I've gotten older, especially in my 30s, like, I've been dabbling in the concept of life insurance. I've probably since I was like 31. It's been 4 or 5 years now. But now I'm really starting to just like understand, like internalize, integrate the understanding and the true impact of life insurance that it can have on people and families and retaining wealth within families. So again, every video you guys expect some insurance talk. I've been in insurance for 6 years of my life, so it's a part of me now. So I'm always going to talk on insurances and the benefit of insurances. So insurance is very dynamic. There's people that give insurance a bad rap, and there's people that execute insurance with pride, with integrity, honesty, and so insurance. There isn't just one definition of insurance. Insurance is just a concept. It's an institution, but how it's executed and how it's distributed varies wildly, and that's why we have different methods of acquiring insurance. You can buy insurance through direct insurers, from direct insurance agencies that underwrite their own policies, and go through brokerages, managing brokerage, like larger brokerage agencies. You can go through individual brokers as public, like there's so many different ways of distributing and managing the product and the concept of insurance for society, that your experience is unique to yourself. Your mileage may vary, and I feel like that's that analogy fits with a lot of things in life, that your mileage may vary. Your experience in life is going to be your experience in life is unique to you. There's no one else in life, whether in the past 200,000 years that we've been alive, and maybe, Lord willing, knock on wood, if we're alive for another 200,000 years, would ever live your life in the future. There's only one you. There's only one you and one life. Your perspective, your knowledge, your experience, your body, everything that makes you you. Your relationship, your family, your friends, your professional network, that is uniquely you. So everyone has their own unique perspective, and this ties neatly into what I really wanted to talk to today, which was about lifelong learning. And learning should be lifelong. I always say that there's no definition of being educated. You can't educate yourself. Like, can you guys answer me a question? Anyone that stumbles upon this video, type in the comments, what does it mean to be educated? And how do you know when one is educated versus when one isn't? And what type of intelligence are we basing education on? Just some questions like education. I think education at its word to educe, it means to draw from within. It's to draw knowledge from within. Knowledge, we've always, I think, information, education, knowledge, wisdom, intellectualism, is that even a word? We've always had it. We as human beings possess knowledge. We've always carried around the wisdom, the knowledge, the capability to build airplanes. But airplanes have only been around for 100 years. We've always carried around the capability to create vaccines, life-saving vaccines, life-saving medical surgeries, technologies that evolve, that transform our lives, iPhones, computers, self-driving vehicles, you know, skyscrapers that last for generations, concrete structures that have last for generations in Europe and in Egypt and in the Middle East. So, you know, like I say, knowledge, it accumulates, it builds, it compounds. There's no one. At what point does or was humanity educated? Like we call certain countries educated, we call other countries uneducated. Which, okay, I get the general concept in, you know, being able to read, being able to write, being able to communicate in a language verbally, and then being able to do math, arithmetic, you know, science, like general concepts and understandings of the world around us. Like I get that concept, but even those things are always evolving. Like you can, being educated implies that you know everything that there is to know to function. But then I propose you a question in response. Being able to function in what capacity? So you're educated to function up to what capacity? See what I'm saying? Like, there's always something. There's no one definition of educated. I feel like I hate that word. I think that we're always educating ourselves. We're always educing from within and always bettering ourselves. That's why I always say, and I shouldn't say always say. I should point that I think that learning should always be lifelong. Not that it should. I think learning is lifelong. I don't think we're ever not learning. There's never a point where we stop learning. Our environment, society, structures are always changing. Like when you leave your city and you come back 5 years, the city's completely different. The realities of your city in 2021 are different than what they are. Realities of your city when we were in 2021 are different than what they are today in 2026. New streets, new buildings, new people, new culture, new languages, new foods. Things change. Like your environment's always changing, and I want to impress upon people that I don't like when people come to me and say, "Yeah, I'm educated in so and so. I got my master's in biology. I got my master's in kinesiology. I got my master's in economics. I got my PhD in dentistry, in I don't know, oncology, whatever fucking have you. You know, okay, great. Like you understand generally accepted principles. You understand like foundational concepts, but you're still not you're still not educated. I think we should even take that word educated out of the dictionary and just replace it with educate or to educe or educating. There should just be a present. There shouldn't be a future or a finite tense or concept to education. It should just be education. To educate, to educe, not educated, where it implies that there's an end, a goal. Goalposts are always moving. But yeah, what you guys think about what I've said in this video? You know, do you agree with some of the things I'm saying? Do you rebuttal to some of the things that I say? Or, you know, do some of my concepts don't make sense? What are some concepts that you guys have that you are implementing in your own lives that are benefiting you? Or, you know, what are you changing about yourself? What are you changing about your lifestyle, about your habits, about your mindset, your frameworks? Like, how are you developing and building yourself? What are you doing personally? What are you reading and learning and you know, studying about? You know, what ventures are you partaking in? What business ventures are you thinking about? You know, another topic I want to touch on, which I'll probably touch on in another video, is being economically productive and finding ways to be economically productive. If you can't get a job, if you can't find a job, create a job for yourself. So, you know, I want to touch on that on the next video that I put out. I was thinking of putting it right after this video, but I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably going to do that next week. I want to let that topic kind of brew and settle. I want to digest some information and some talking points to getting people to see, like, you know, yeah, right now your income might be zero. Right now you think you're jobless. I don't think there's such thing as being jobless. If even artificial intelligence, if that starts to take some of the white collar roles in terms of being the almighty, all knowing, you know, like I said, the world is always changing. So why not use that to your advantage? AI can only be updated so many times and so frequently. And, you know, I don't think AI has come to a point where it has a general human understanding or conscience to be able to, a conscience of understanding. Only we have that. Like, that should be our competitive advantage. So, you know, if AI takes some jobs, then it should be on us to find other ways to contribute to humans. Like, what can we do as a human being to serve and give another human being, to make them want to give their own wealth in return? How am I benefiting someone else so much that they see it to themselves to take a piece of their wealth and give it to me? I'm giving something of value so much that they're taking a piece of their wealth to give to me, because they value the benefits that I'm providing them more than that piece of wealth, whatever that dollar value may be. So there's some topics that I'm going to touch on the next video in terms of creating your own economic value and, you know, starting from scratch. You don't even have to have a high school diploma. Like, as long as you got your faculties, if you've got two hands, you know, you can walk, you can run, you've got physicality, you've got your health. If you've got your brain and you've got your health, that's all you need to create economic value or value for someone else. So we'll talk about that on another video. And how long was this video? 33 minutes. So perfect. You know, it wasn't the length that I was hoping for. I didn't want to make this too long, or I don't want to make it too short. I like to make these, I think 30 minutes is the sweet spot for these types of topics and concepts. So see you guys on the next video. It's Bugsy Benjamin. Yo, check out my Snapchat, check out my YouTube. You know, I got some videos on both. And see you guys on the next video. Peace.